Okay, so I do actually have the public integer piece number over here. However, it's probably not showing up here because I have errors in my script. So what piece number is for now, what I'm going to keep it, and it's basically just going to be, well, each piece is going to have its unique number. I'm going to start at 1, not 0, because I found that easier to manage for later on, because I want 0 to be a non-existent element. So you do want to put piece into all of the canvases that we have. I'm going to do that later on after I talk about the game manager. So this is all we need in here. I think that I have explained everything. Int row, int column, same as square, it just holds the piece's coordinates, current coordinates on the board. And by coordinates I don't mean literally coordinates in UI, as you probably found out by now. I mean that this is 0, 0, and this would be 0, 6, for example. So moving on to the game manager, I actually changed quite a few things, or added a few things, to be honest, not really changed much in here. First of all, yes, we have already changed that to be public, allowing us to use the whole board anywhere we like. We also need to change, well, we don't need to change this, we don't actually ever use this, so we don't need it. Same here. So I'm just going to delete that. It was supposed to hold all of the empty squares that we have on the board, i.e., for example, these ones, but I don't think that it's going to be of much benefit for us right now, or ever, to be honest. So moving on, we are going to have the whole mouse interaction. So what that is basically the the check selection of the game manager, and that's also going to be public. Let me just find my start and my end, and I just add it here. Now I should probably get onto explaining this. There are going to be some errors. That's not too big of a deal for now. So if current piece selection, because I would have already predefined all of the numbers in my on my chessboard, so this would be 1, this would be 32, this would be what, 4, for example. All of the pieces are going to have a unique number, which I'm going to assign manually over here, as you saw me mention or heard me mention previously. So if current piece selection is less than 32, that should actually be less than 33, because I have 32 pieces. So if it's less than 33, i.e. it's 0, 1 through 32, and it's all integers because I never define any floats or reals, then allow square selection true, which basically means that if I have selected a piece, then let me select a square as well, so that I can move the piece to that square. If current square selection 1, i.e. the row number, is less than 8, so how I do it here is kind of weird, but basically what I'm trying to do is, if the row number is less than 8 and more than -1, i.e. is between 0 and 7 and is an integer, because that's the only number that we can have. As you can see, 7, 7 is the maximum, and then we have 0, 0, which is the minimum. If that is true for the square, then, well, we need to move the piece to that square. So the way I do that is I get all of the pieces in this game on the scene. So all of the piece objects, which is just going to be all of the canvases which have the piece script in them. I think that I have actually missed something out in my initializer over here, but okay, I will do that, talk about that later on. So once I find all of the pieces on the board, I put them in a list of pieces, as you can see there. And then for each piece j in all pieces, I am just going through the all pieces I'm just going through all of the pieces that exist on the board, and I'm calling them J in turn. If the current piece's selection has the same number as the piece number term as the piece that I am looking at, current piece selection, i.e. the piece that I have selected. So if the piece that I have selected has the same number as the piece that I'm looking at, what I want to do is, well, I kind of want to swap things around. So the way I do this, we are actually going to need to do quite a few changes to this in the next lesson, as we are going to make the piece its own thing. However, for now, the way I have done it is all squares current selection dot piece texture number equals that. So let's explain what this is. Dot piece texture number, that should sound familiar. Let's go onto our main panel, or actually main canvas is the thing I'm looking at, and I did not mean to zoom in there. Oh well, that's not a problem. Here we go. Nope, that's not big enough either. Okay, I wanted to put both things here, but that's probably not going to happen. Okay, this should be fine. Yeah, we can see these, that's the most important bit. So we get the piece texture number of the square which has the coordinates of the current square selection. So what that means is I have selected a piece, I have selected a square. The square is defined by its coordinates, and I get that square from the all squares list, which we made quite a few lessons ago, I believe. And then I change it so that its texture number, i.e. the piece that is on that square, is the same as the piece that is on the old square. Then what I do is delete the old square's contents. So first of all, I set it invisible by doing set empty, i.e. I just basically untick the box here from the piece, not from the main panel, because that would be stupid. Then all squares dot piece texture number equals 0. So again, I just make it so that there's nothing on the old spot, because I don't gain a piece, I just move a piece. Then I call the set piece coordinates function so that the piece that has been moved gets its new coordinates and knows where it is on the board. And we defined this method just a few minutes ago in our square in here. Then all squares current selection, so piece set coordinates. So I set the coordinates of the old square so that the new, basically, because we're working with blank elements, as you can remember. For example, I believe if we go into here, and if I can find where my board is, here we go. So for example, this one is just a blank. Even though it's visible at first, we do set it to invisible, and we have a blank raw image. So here what I do is set the blank piece's coordinates to be equal to the square that it's on, so that it also knows where it is, just in case we want to know it. Then I go on to changing the piece number, piece in square dot piece number. So I get the squares, so the square selection again is going to be the square that I have selected to move the piece to. I get the piece that is in that square, and I get its number. I make that number equal to the pieces which to the piece that I am looking at right now, i.e. the piece that I have selected. So make the new piece's number equal to, I basically move this piece to here, take that as an example, and this square, or the piece that's in this square, i.e. the blank now that is for now, gains all of the contents from this one. One of those contents is the piece number, which we just talked about over here, which is the unique number, the unique number which all of the pieces have. So I just make sure that it gets the number that it needs to be, i.e. the piece that I have just moved. So that's what that does. And then all squares dot piece square dot piece number equals 0. So what I do is just set the old square, i.e. the square from which I have moved the piece, its piece number to equal to 0, and 0 just means that for me that there is no piece on it. You can set it either 0 or anything above 32, i.e. 33 and above. And then, because I have a for each here, I break because I don't want to go through all of the other pieces, as none of them are going to match anyway, and it doesn't matter for me. I'm not interested in any of the other pieces. So I break, kind of saving on some time as well. Then, what I always want to do is this, which is, so I get the squares which I have selected to move the piece to, and I make it visible, or I make its contents visible so that I can see where the piece has moved to. Quite self-explanatory, I believe. Allow square selection false. So this is just saying, well, you've already moved the piece to a new square, so your selection has finished. You're not allowed to select anything anymore, or you need to restart a new selection. So make that false so that this isn't true and doesn't go into an infinite loop, as I have experienced before. Current piece selection equals 0. I have selected nothing. Current square selection 0 equals 9, 1 equals 9. So that's because of this. I have to make it equal to something that's out of bounds of this. I could make it 8. That's probably slightly more readable, to be honest. So I'm just saying, well, give it out of bounds and it's not going to make this true ever. So that once I select a new square, it gets its coordinates and allows me to change it. So what this does is basically, or these 4 lines just reset it so that this can be re-entered the proper way once more. And I have definitely forgotten something over here. Current piece selection. So those are the variables, the new variables I am going to need to add on. In here I also need to actually add on the same script which we added on before, so that it registers the click, the check selection. Next I am going to need to add, I thought I had marked stuff. I guess I haven't marked much stuff in Game Manager. Okay, let's see then. So the things I need to add on are these 2 things. So this is the list of the row and column, which I return from piece and square when needed. I should eliminate quite a few of the errors, as you can see. So that just gives me the coordinates of the square. And next thing, allow square selection. That's also a boolean. And I also have another boolean as well here. Move made. No, that's not the correct one. Allow square selection, which is over here. I need to set it. It is a boolean, and there we go. So at first it's going to be false because I haven't selected a piece yet. Now I believe that we should have no errors. Let's just make sure. And that is good. We don't have any errors. Let's save project. Let's save scene. Or scenes, I guess. And what we need to do is just go through all of the canvases and add the piece script to them. So I will be back once I have done that, and then show off the functionality. Actually, before I do that, you also need to define the piece number. You don't have to touch these because those are already done by the game manager. So I'm going to start with the black rook as 1, the black knight as 2, and so on. So meet you at the other end. So also, maybe I wasn't clear last time I said it, but you'll also need to add the piece script into your into the canvases which don't actually hold a piece, as you can see I've done here. Just leave the piece number as 0 in those though. So now if you run the game, it's not going to work exactly the way we want it to. So what's going to happen is that when you click a piece, the very first piece is going to not work. So how we fix that is we go to the main canvas, we go to Game Manager, we go to current piece selection, and we don't want it to be 0 because 0, 0 is here. And so we just change that to 8. If we change it to 8, we go save scenes, save project, and so on. Now, I believe that, oh no, it doesn't work. I think I know what it is as well now. It's current square selection. Those we don't want to be 0, 0 either. So that's actually the main problem. We don't need those to be 0, 0. I have set them to be 8 so that they're outside of the board and don't get checked. Current piece selection should be 33 actually, or 0. Probably better because we don't have a piece called 0. And if it's 0 here, then it's not going to select it, and 8, 8, there's no square which is at 8, 8, so it's not going to select it. Now if we start the game, and as you can see, we can very safely move a piece anywhere. Also notice that even if I click here, where the piece doesn't actually, or the canvas for the piece doesn't actually get registered, because I have a script on the square which selects the piece. If there's no piece selected, I can just move it, even though I've selected it through the square. So that's one of the reasons for the script which we made. And that was not supposed to happen. Sometimes I think that if you do it too quickly, it can actually not work the way you want it to. Or maybe I think that I have probably just left out the scripts for either the square or the canvas over here. So let's just fix that real quick. The reason why that wasn't working was because I had put a piece script into my raw image as well as my canvas, which means that it doesn't select it the way I want it to. And so let me just show you real quick. It does actually work now. There we go. It was just that one spot, which was quite easy to spot the mistake in. So before we go, there's also one last thing which can make things easier. So here, Game Manager, there's actually an easier way to do this. So instead of find objects, you can just do find object, not a list. Make that as a comment, and we can just call this the canvas. And because we only have one Game Manager object in the whole scene, this is also going to work. If it doesn't, then we can just change it back, but as you can see, it works the same. We also need to change that in all of the other places where we have used it. So let me just, it's easy to just look for game. That's not how you spell game. Game Manager. And like, I haven't used it there, but I did use it here. There we go. And just to prove that it still works, I'm going to start the game and move a few pieces around. Now, to make sure that your board is fully working, what you should do is really move all of the pieces to all of the other pieces. So move the queen on each of the squares that exist. However, that's a lot of effort to put into this, especially on video. So I'm not going to do it because I know it's kind of boring, and I do think that everything is working fine. So now to prove that the start new game button works, the last thing, actually, I know I lied, I said that the last thing was the last thing, but this is the last thing. Start new game, as you can see, all of the pieces get back to their old places, and it works fine. Now, I just realized that this video is actually much longer than I thought it would be. I went into quite deep explanation, so this might be a two-part video, and today's video instead of thinking tomorrow, Saturday. This might actually be Friday's video, and the first part could be Thursday's video. So I think that I might actually do that, because I don't really want to have extremely long videos. I don't really want them to be much longer than 15 minutes, because it can be a bit overwhelming with programming. I know that, I have felt it myself. So until next time, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I hope that your game is working the way mine is. So far, we are going to continue with it next week. If you have any questions or your game isn't working properly, do feel free to ask in the comments down below. I will do my best to help you out. But until next time, thanks again so much for watching, and goodbye.